morning, Scribe.
Good morning, Patty. How are you today?
Oh, I'm fine, and you?
Good.
Good.
What do you have for me today?
First, a really important question
Mm-hmm.
everyone is interested in. How's Molly Dog?
She she is lying on the floor looking very sorry for herself at the moment
Oh.
because she wants me to let her go and hide and bark at people. And it's raining and it's cold and it's wet and I'm not having her run in and out of the house. So she's looking at me with pathetic eyes at the moment because she's unhappy that I won't let that happen.
Oh, poor.
But other than that, she's fine. She's her usual annoying menace. Very puppy-like self. For a 9-year-old dog, she has not grown up at all. So for all her fans, she says hello, and I am hoping that she won't join in today, but chances are she may well do.
We will see.
Yes, we will.
Okay, to the real topic.
Oh, right. Have we actually got a topic?
Yes, we have. I'm prepared, if you believe it or not.
Oh, my word.
Yes,
Do I need to be worried?
Don't think so.
Okay.
So the topic is DS relationships. In one of the prior videos, you said they can be really intense.
Yes.
So my question for today is a DS relationship. What makes it so intense, and what is the difference to a normal relationship?
That's a very good question.
Thank you.
The answer is quite complex, so I shall try and keep it simple. Because then at least I'll understand what's been said. As with all relationships, it takes time, it takes effort from both parties to make it work. With a vanilla relationship, you have all the variables that life can throw at you. You have, just general living. If there's kids involved, you've got to deal with the kids. You've got work, you have bills to pay, shopping to do, housework, all the usual things. If you add the element of a DS relationship into that, if we're talking, a live-in relationship, I gather, is that what we're discussing here?
Yes.
Okay. If you add the element of a DS relationship, it gives it another angle, but it also creates more work from both of you, more effort. And the reason is because for it to be maintained, you both have to work at staying on the same wavelength. What drew you together, or what developed as a desire for you both, the DS element, obviously one to dominate, one to submit, can be very easily lost in the daily routines of the vanilla world. So it takes work and it takes effort to maintain an undercurrent that runs through your lives. It doesn't need to be overt. Unless you are lucky enough to be in a position where you can live very much as a DS and you don't have to worry about general life getting in the way or interrupting you. Very few and far between, I would imagine, are the people that can do that. But it will take work, and to maintain that undercurrent, you have to give it time. You must both keep that in mind and maintain the DS relationship as often as you can. Set aside time for it. Not necessarily have a routine, because then it loses its a certain amount of the spontaneity. If you say, right, Friday nights is DS night, which sounds fine because it is on Twitter. The Scribe is that, but within your normal life, setting it as a routine, I don't think is the best way to do it. However, you do need to keep working and keep maintaining and making sure that, you know, that part of your lives, the need that you have, is there. And that can take the form of just little things. It could be instead of wearing a collar 24/7, there are some lovely necklaces that are very collar-esque, shall we say, that look like normal jewelry. But obviously you know, and your Dom knows, that it is a collar. Or a bracelet. It can take the form of an ownership bracelet. There are some beautiful slave bracelets, they're called, out there, that are very ornate. They are beautiful pieces of jewelry, but it maintains that mindset. It gives you something to think about. Obviously, every time, you know, you look at it, it just reinforces that you are in a DS relationship and you are owned. So it gives that element. And I personally feel that that is an important thing to have within a 24/7 relationship, because no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter how vanilla the activity can be, if that is a constant with you, it's a reminder. And as I've always said, the lifestyle is 80% mental, 20% physical stimulation. That mental stimulation, that mental jolts, the reminders, the keeping, you know, it going in your head, is an important step to take. So a thing like a bracelet or a necklet, or, you know, necklace, or something that maintains that, I do believe is an important element.
Would you say that the mental aspect makes the DS relationship that intense?
Yes, because let's put it into context, Patty. I've talked about it before when, you know, we talked about briefly about, are dominants born or are they made? Can you make them? And I said, well, no, I do believe that you need a certain aspect of your character that can switch off from the emotional ties that you have with your partner to be able to take them to a place that they wish to explore. It's exactly the same, you know, in a full-time relationship. Once you have developed the mental link, and there should be a mental bond, then that, once again, that needs to be maintained, because that is where the intensity will come from. It is the thoughts, it is the knowing, it is the understanding that one belongs to the other and the other owns, you know, the other person, that keeps that alive. And then when you put that into a sexual context, it just takes it to a different level, because if you have worked with your minds together, you have built the rapport, you have built the bond, you have built the feelings. It actually takes the sexual act into a different place. It is more than sex. It is, you know, the mental stimulation. You're aiming, ideally, I suppose, if you were looking at for nirvana, is a mental orgasm, where just pure mental stimulation takes you to that point of sexual release. It is possible. I have known it. I have known girls that just literally, the imagery that they can create within their mind, with a little help from the dominant, either talking them through a situation, talking quietly to them, explaining, telling them certain things, that they don't actually need to touch. And they reach that point of arousal where an orgasm is possible.
Wow, that's impressive.
It is impressive. It is impressive. It is not common, but it is certainly there. Now, if you combine that mental stimulation with the physical stimulation, and of course some of the physical acts that are prevalent within the lifestyle, be it bondage, be it, you know, whatever, turning the girl into a toy, turning, you know, she's your baby girl, she's a sub strapped to a bench, she is whatever she needs to be. When you bring that element in, it's and add the mind that has already put her in place where she knows exactly what her role is, then it can get very, very intense. It can get very, very deep very quickly. Because the mind is the biggest sexual organ we have, Patty. And it is the most sensitive sexual organ we have. So forget everything else. If you've got that first, if you have the mental aspect in place, then the physical becomes extremely intense. And that is what I would hope everybody is looking for. There are those that the physical play is enough. The fact of flogging, spanking, paddling is enough for one particular person. And, conversely, being flogged, spanked, or paddled, or, bound in a certain way is enough for the other. But I would wager that for the majority of people out there listening to this that have either thoughts of being involved in DS or are involved in DS, the mental aspect should have and will have become a major aspect. If a girl does not fully accept within her mind that she is owned, then it is very difficult for her to follow that through physically. One of the biggest problems that I feel is prevalent in the world today, certainly within the lifestyle, is with the plethora of people that have come into the world because of the literature, that it has become focused on the physical more. It is, as I term it, and I will refer to it constantly, as quick fix, kinky sex. It loses touch with the mental aspect. And I would argue to any dominant, in inverted commas, and not, that it is far sweeter if the girl's mind is yours than if you are taking what you need through the act of tying her down. It is far sweeter if the girl offers her wrists to you than it is you grabbing her wrists and pinning them down. Yes, that can be fun as well, but it is far sweeter. And that can only be attained through capturing her mind first. Without that, I think you're only getting 50% of the girl. And it goes the same with the dominant. The girl must capture his imagination. She must fuel his desires. Otherwise, once again, you're only getting 50% of the dominant. I'm talking obviously male and female, but it goes the other way around, You must have that element, in my opinion, for it to be truly fulfilling for both of you. Put that into a 24/7 live-in situation, and it will get very intense. In the vanilla world, I'm pretty sure that that you can have just as intense sexual encounters, where everything just clicks and it's absolutely perfect. I would say that within a DS relationship, if you were already halfway mentally there, that moment is approaching and the submissive knows her role. She knows pretty much where the hunger is going to come from, what is going to happen to her the minute she steps into that room. The stimulation's already started. She's halfway there before she's actually touched. And that can only be achieved with the mind. So it is an important aspect to maintain within a 24/7 living relationship. You have to work at that, and you have to give it the time that it needs to maintain it. And little things, as I said about the bracelet, the necklet, anything that can reinforce the dynamic that you have going. And it doesn't have to be overt, it can just be something very, very simple. It doesn't need to be in your face. You don't need to walk around with a flogger attached to your belt while you're at home. She does not need to walk around in chains, though that is nice if you can do it. If you have some free time where for a period, a day, a night, a weekend, that you can completely dedicate yourself to the DS relationship. It will reinforcing, and you will come out of that weekend on the Monday, Tuesday, and it will be refreshed. I would encourage anybody that's within a 24/7 relationship, if you've got kids, if you've got whatever, going on around you, try and make that time. Take that weekend out and go back to the roots that brought you together in the first place, the desires that brought you together in the first place. If it is difficult, then you must resort to other things. I have lived in a DS relationship where there were kids 24/7. And you have to take that into account. You cannot have a playroom that is accessible to the kids. She could not walk around dressed as I wanted her to be 24/7 because there were things that needed to be done. But you can still take those moments. You have kiddie-free moments. You have to work at it, people. You've got to find ways to do this. It's not going to happen by osmosis. It's not going to happen by people turning up at your door and saying, "Hi, I'm going to take your kids away for the weekend. There's your bag of tricks. Have some fun." You've got to make it happen yourselves. And it does take work. And if one of you starts to falter, then the DS relationship is severely jeopardized. So it takes both of you. And as with all relationships, it's communication, Patty. You have to talk about it. It mustn't become a secret between you two. It mustn't become something that is an afterthought, because then the DS element is gone.
So the dominant has to think of nice little things.
Yes.
And the girl has to, you call it, present.
Yes. Yes, it does take work. I mean, yeah, I would, hesitate to say it, but in my opinion, again, it is the dominant's role to maintain that. They are supposed to be the dominant. They are supposed to be the driving force. So they need to think of little things that reinforces her mind and her feelings of being submissive. Little touches, little things. Just treat her in a different way at periods of time when you can. Put her back into the mental aspect of being a girl. And from a submissive's point of view, they mustn't lose sight of the fact that their dominant has his desires. They should know them. They should know what makes their dominant growl, what gets him interested. And a little thing, once again, as a surprise, slipping into something that he can't keep his hands off. He's going to capture his attention. It may only be for an hour or so. It may just be a fleeting thing where, you suddenly turn up in front of him and you know damn well he's going to make a lunge for you because it's, that is what he likes to see you to appear in. That, it's short, sharp and an awful lot of fun. It takes work, it takes efforts passing, and it has to be from both of you. But I would say that the onus is on the dominant to get the grey matter working, get the mind going, and keep it constant. You can't do it 24/7, and anybody who says you can, you have to be in a very, very special set of circumstances to maintain.
So be rich, don't have to work, no kids.
Yes. And then you buy yourself a little place in the country and you live a completely DS life. I could see me doing that, Patsy. I could see me in the country house with, lots of little slaves. Yes, coffee slaves, vodka slaves, houseworks. I could see a little group of girls all in their dormitory. And they get up in the morning and they totter around wearing nice little pretty things and good morning DS, what do you need to do today?
You would like that.
It's a fantasy, Patty, but it's a nice fantasy. So unless you are actually in a position to do that, then you have to face realities that things are going to get in the way. Things are going to make it difficult for you to do. You've got to work to get around those difficulties. And you have to be prepared for that. And if you're not prepared for it, or if one of you stops, then it is going to be extremely difficult to get it back. And when it does go, and unfortunately I've been in that position of a full-time relationship where it went for one partner, it's terminal. The DS element ceases to exist. And if that is your major driving force, either sexually and mentally, it's a terminal point for the relationship, unfortunately, because it will not survive. And you have to look at it in the cold light of day, like any relationship, and say to yourself, this is not going to work. And if you can't talk your way around it and you can't repair it, then it is always going to be a bone of contention with you. One of you is going to be unhappy. And you reach that point where, it's give the kisses and say the goodbyes. That's a depressing note to finish on. Give me something cheerful to finish on. But
what's Molly Dog doing?
Those are the harsh facts of life. It's not romance, people. Yes, there are romance involved. Yes, I have been in love with submissives, my girls. There is romance. You develop very, very deep feelings. So yes, there is, and you can still have hearts and flowers within the relationship. But it's still subject to all the pressures of everyday living, and it takes work. Guys, you've got to be prepared to work. If you're not, don't do it, because one of you is going to end up very unhappy, and both of you are going to end up on your own. Okay? Molly Dog, by the way, is fast asleep now.
That's a better ending.
I bored her to death. She's not really interested.
No.
But I'm trying to keep it cheerful, Patty, because it is fun, it is nice, but the realities are there that you've got to work. It's not going to happen on its own. So, you both have to be committed to this thing, or not. Don't do it if you're not. If you are, then my blessings, and go for it. Do it, because it is an experience unlike any other.
From what you have seen, would you say the relationships are more unstable because of all the reasons, or do they still work?
They can be very volatile, Patty. But that, once again, is down to the individuals and the nature of the relationship. I wouldn't say they're any more unstable than a vanilla relationship, because you are still people. You still have all the emotions and feelings and foibles and problems and everything else that everybody else has. So I don't think it makes them more unstable by nature. Obviously, they can be more volatile because of the certain acts that can go on within a DS relationship. Tying your girl to a bench and tormenting her for 2 hours is an intense experience. So obviously there is the come down from that. I don't think we've touched on things like sub-drop, have we?
Only short.
Only shortly. So, there is that element in, because if you're going to take your pleasure from a girl, there is a price. And if she enjoys it to the same intensity levels that you do, then there is a come down. And both of you must be aware that that's there. And if it carries on into the next day and it carries on into your vanilla life, then you must recognize the signs. I had the pleasure of having a girl who used to come down like a brick. She dropped, and she had intense feelings, and then she would be as spaced out as Mr. Space Cowboy could ever possibly be. And then she dropped, and she would literally cease to function. She was depressed, she was tearful, she was just down. And that took a lot of care to keep her feeling safe and feeling comfortable and get her back up to normality. Now, obviously, you have to build that in. You have to take that into account. And I've also known girls that they were fine on the day. They would have a little bit of adrenaline drop and endorphin drop, but nothing major. But the next day, they were completely wiped out. They were absolutely drained. And so, of course, these things are all those elements you've got to take into account. And if you're in a vanilla if you've got a 24/7 relationship, you've got kids, you've got work, you've got pressures of everyday living, the last thing that you really want is sending your girl going to work on a Monday morning in the middle of a sub drop. She is going to be no good to anybody, let alone herself. So you've got to take those things into account.
But what do you do against the drop?
Depends on the nature of the drop, how the girl experiences it. Obviously, the intensity of whatever it is, whatever acts you've carried out between you, be they, physical acts, the flogging, the paddling, spanking, bondage, they all involve large elements of adrenaline, large elements of endorphin and sexual highs. If it works properly and you're both enjoying yourself, of course. So the body becomes pumped with those things. It's like an athlete needs a warm down period after intense exercise. A girl or a boy, submissive, needs downtime after their intense activities. The flow of adrenaline and endorphins through the system is a real buzz. It's a proper high. And there are lots of those that talk about subspace where they are literally in another world altogether. The endorphin and the adrenaline level is built to such a point that they are high, for want of a better expression. They are as high as a kite. And everything becomes sensation and feeling. Coming down from that can affect them in different ways. There can be a drop in blood pressure. There can be emotional aspects. They suddenly become very tearful. They can even be, I've known girls become even aggressive. They get a little bit punchy because they're affected in different ways. We're all affected in different ways by that. As they're dominant, you need to learn their ways. You need to be able to spot them. You need to know if she has, a blood pressure drop, if she has emotional lows, then she needs lots of kisses and cuddles. She needs to be kept warm. She needs to be wrapped in a blanket. She needs something hot and sweet to drink. She needs little nibbles to get her blood sugar levels back up and get her energy levels back up. You've got to prepare for that. But that's all part of any DS relationship. Obviously on a 24/7 one, it's more important because you are there together constantly. And it becomes part of your DS personality, your playtime, your roles that you attune. When you move into that, then it's something that needs to be taken into account. So a responsible dominant would have those things available. They will have a big fluffy cuddly blanket. They will have something to wrap them up in. They will have nibbles, sweet drinks, whatever it takes to put her back into a comfortable place and let her come back up, get back to normal. So each submissive, I keep saying girl, each submissive is individual. They will experience things in a different way. The dominant's role is to learn those things. And I know there's some that are going to be saying while they're listening to this, well, what about dominant drop, dom drop? Yes, it happens. I have experienced that. You are so focused and so intent on what you are doing that everything else ceases to exist. Everything that you are is concentrated on the girl in front of you, what she is feeling, what you are doing to her, how you are doing these things to her, it becomes total. Afterwards, it's when all that focus and attention, you have the adrenaline, you have the endorphins because it's exciting for you. When it finishes and it's time to go, you've taken care of the girl, you then can still have a drop. I've always likened it to the days where I was unfortunate enough to spend probably 8 hours a day zipping up and down the motorways, visiting various places in my previous life. And the concentration and focus levels of driving on the motorways for that length of time, at the very, very legal speeds, if anybody's listening, that I used to travel at, that's 69.9 miles an hour. Did I hell? My cruise control was set at 90, main beam was on, get out of the way, the Jag's coming through. And that was how my day went. 8 hours of that, your concentration levels are at a point that when you stop, I used to call it motorway buzz. I'd park the car, walk in, and I used to say to my partner, I need half an hour. I need to go and sit and quiet and get the buzz, that level of out of the system, because I was still driving. Mentally, I was still focused on the act. It goes the same way with dom drop. You are that focused on what you're doing. That you also experience it. And that, once again, is something that needs to be taken care of. Both of you need to be aware it's not just a subby, right to have a drop. It's not just a submissive thing, and it goes across the board. So, once again, it's another thing that you need to build into maintaining that DS element in a 24/7 relationship, planning, making these things happen, giving yourself time, putting the work in. And that's the important thing, putting the work in to keep the undercurrent going. That's the only thing I can say on it. Guys, folks out there, it's going to take work. If you do that, you will experience something unlike anything else you've ever experienced. It's, in my opinion, far outstrips a vanilla relationship. The depths it can get to, the mental places it can take you, are tremendous. You can really lose yourself in a moment. That is what we're all looking to attain. So go for it, people. Enjoy it, but put the work in. Okay? I don't think I think I've talked that to death. I don't think there's a lot more I can say about that, Patty. But I just hope that listeners out there, they put this into their own lives and they look at it and think, yeah, I could do that. I shall get her a little bracelet. I'll get her a little piece of jewellery. Mm-hmm. It can go the other way. She can buy him a bracelet.
What?
That reminds him that she belongs to him. Well, there are those little things. Oh, hang on, we've got a Molly dog suddenly woken up. Be quiet, thank you very much. There's nothing to do with you. The next door neighbours have just had the cheek to come out of their house and get into their car. I mean, what is the world coming to? I know, and they didn't make an appointment. They didn't phone me up and ask, and they certainly didn't send anybody to see if Molly was okay with that. Naughty neighbours. I shall have a quiet word with them later to say, look, please, make arrangements before you leave your own house and get into your car, so I can inform Molly Dog that she doesn't need to bark.
Sounds good.
Yep. Do we have anything else you would like to know today, Patty? What else would you like to touch on? Or do you think we've burnt people's ears enough?
I think we covered the most important things.
Okay. I hope so.
I at least have no questions at the moment.
Oh, good. Good. That means I can get away with an early finish.
Yes. Well, it's not that early, but we're not as long as the last time.
No, we're not. No, we're being kind to people this time, Patty.
Yes.
Well, I look forward to talking to you again. And I look forward to the next topic that you suddenly throw at me out of the blue because I had no idea what we were going to talk about today. And hopefully we shall keep our listeners informed and entertained.
Yes, I hope so. Yeah, we will.
I shall say bye-bye for now then, Patty. Bye-bye.
Bye.